welcome to Overdrive, your weekly dose of everything auto. I am Soini Dutt. Now, Toyota India has decided to move a step towards carbon neutrality by launching the Innova, which now comes with a hybrid powertrain. What's also new is that the Innova will only be available with a petrol option. It also comes with enhanced new features, including the ADAS tech.
Now the Innova Hycross is now a hybrid, which by itself is a big step away from the diesel Innovas that you've become so used to. But it must be said that again, like the rest of the car, it kind of works. So the 186 PS, it feels like 186 PS. You don't feel that lack of mid-range torque all that much. You only feel it, say, at higher speeds on the highway, where you want to make that fast overtake or just close gap. So there you do miss that strong mid-range diesel punch. But aside from that, in most other conditions, that EV powertrain, the 1.31 kilowatt-hour battery that sits underneath, that's doing a very good job of, accentuating that 2-liter petrol engine. So in regular slow-moving traffic, that electric motor, which is powered by this 1.31 kilowatt-hour battery pack, is doing a great job. So you, as with all these Toyota systems, hybrid systems, you start off almost always on electric power. So you have that typical, very easily accessible torque that an EV has. So it just moves off the line very cleanly, quite briskly in fact. And then of course the petrol motor kicks in, it does so seamlessly, quite seamlessly. There's no loud clatters or clangs coming in. So that is very good. And then when you do pick up speed like we are right now, you notice that the CVT is also quite intuitively tuned. So of course when you step on the gas, there is that drone, that CVT drone, but there's also forward motion, so that dissociation is not that much. So yeah, you do have a clean linear power band as with most of these hybrids. So it really does make making progress quite easy. Yeah, you might find it to be quite different from that typical diesel performance with that where you ride that wave of mid-range torque. It's different from that. You have to drive the Hycross a bit differently, let it build speed, let the electric motor do its thing. But you do notice that there is enough performance. The 0 to 100 time of 9.5 seconds seems fairly believable. So it's not a slow car by any means. So it'll keep up in traffic. It'll do your highway road trips pretty easily. And then of course, the big advantage of this is that 21.1 kilometer per liter fuel efficiency. Of course, in the real world, you'll get less than that. We've done some very heavy driving and we're still getting 15, which is a big achievement considering how big this car is and how heavy it is. The Eco, Normal and Power modes don't alter outputs, so even in the most conservative setting, the Hycross is perfectly usable. There is an S gearbox mode that brings a touch more urgency in the way the Hycross moves, but a braking mode for the gearbox would have been more useful. There is some engine braking effect built into this powertrain, but the near one-pedal function that this provides in the Hyryder would have been a good fit for the Hycross too. Far from feeling wallowy, the new Innova feels quite adept around a winding road. Body roll is kept in check and the long, wide car does a good job of hiding its mass here as well as, if not better than, similarly sized SUVs. Now this second row is really where you want to be in the Innova Hycross. And moving to the monocoque architecture, there have been some changes. The most notable of which is that it can't quite take those low-speed, sharp bumps as well as the Crista could. So there is some bit of sharpness which is typical of these monocoque SUVs, if you will, comes through. But other than that, once you've picked up speed once, the road smoothens out, especially on a highway like this. The Hycross feels every bit like an Innova should. So as a long-distance machine, the Hycross is, at least in terms of ride quality, as good as an Innova has ever been. Toyota has really gone to town with the features in this second row. So you get this powered ottoman, of course, for that added comfort. Although with the battery pack now placed under the front seats, there's a bit less legroom, if you will. Of course, the knee room and the headroom is good enough still. And then you can recline this seat back as well. And you can recline it to quite an extreme angle. So you can lie pretty much flat. And then we come to the features that are on offer. So you have a specific climate zone for the second and the third row. You get this ambient lighting. You get this panoramic sunroof. And then of course you have this center console where, like now we put the phones, these snacks. And then of course there's a great addition for India, these sunshades. So as a comfortable place to spend time in, the Innova Hycross really has taken a significant step forward in the second row. The cabin is nothing like the simple, functional ones we've seen before in an Innova. The horizontally themed dash is again quite SUV-like, with its large, freestanding central screen and more ergonomic layout. The quality of materials have also improved noticeably, with the soft brown surfaces on the dash face and doors, as well as the quilted upholstery. The switchgear feels better damped, and the hard plastics, though still with that typical hard-wearing texture you are accustomed to in a Toyota, seem better tempered by the new design. There's quite a long list of features to go with this. Now the shift to a monocoque architecture has been most useful to the Innova in terms of the amount of space you now get in the third row. To start with, the floor has been lowered, which means Toyota has been able to raise this third row. So it means that it's a much more comfortable place to spend time in terms of where the hip point is. So you're not crouched down. Of course, you still sit in a knees up position, just not as much as before. But as you can see, there's not much under thigh support either. But overall, it's much better than what it was before. Now you can also recline this row of seats like this. And again, even in this position, it's quite comfortable. The angle of recline is not too extreme, it's just right. Now Toyota says that this space is good for 3 people, but to be honest, if 3 people were to sit here, they would have to be children, although you do get a full 3-point seat belt for the third passenger as well. With all 3 rows up, there is about as much space for luggage as in the Crista, although you get a smaller hidden compartment under the floor for small items. Usefully, the third row seats now fold fully flat, opening up a significant 991 litres of boot space. The Toyota Innova Hycross is only about 20 mm longer and wider than the Crista, but of the same height. Despite these minor increases, the Hycross looks quite a bit more substantial in person, with the wider tracks, the 100 mm longer wheelbase and the shorter overhangs. Now another big addition with the Hycross is that of level 2 ADAS. Now Toyota has tuned the system specifically for India, and in this very short time that we've tried it, it seems to work fairly usefully for our conditions. So for example, the adaptive cruise will quite easily manage to spot lane markings. It'll keep you in the straight line. It'll even handle those curves on our highways pretty naturally. It's the same with the lane departure system as well. That will also spot even fairly faint markings easily. And the intervention when you do cross over, which can sometimes be a bit scary in other cars, that's not the case here. The intervention is mild. You still get to know when the car wants you to take control back. So in that sense, the system is, at least in this early impression, it is a fairly intuitive one, and one that will aid your driving experience like it should. The Toyota Innova Hycross will be an expensive proposition, considering that the Crista's diesel versions will be reintroduced to cater to that specific segment. But it is clear that this really is what a modern Innova should be. Yes, you lose some of the earlier defining traits like the diesel performance and the last degree of rough road ability, but that is replaced by a far more efficient as well as an easier, more relaxing experience, further enhanced by a generally more useful and feature-packed cabin and eye-catching looks.
Well, after watching this review, do you think that this MPV remains an Innova in its truest sense? Let us know in our YouTube channel in the comment section. We'll take a very quick break here on the show, but coming up on the other side, we'll tell you all about